Hello, hello. You may have seen a few days ago I uploaded a video. You may have seen it because you certainly didn't hear it. Yes, I left my mic off by mistake and just babbled on for 40 minutes, and now you can't hear any of it. So I thought a fun way to salvage this and to try to go over the things I wanted to talk about would be to watch the video and then provide commentary um, and see if we can cover all the same stuff. And I'm going to challenge myself. We're going to watch it on 2 times speed. And I'm just going to try to commentate, everything that I was saying in the original. And we'll see how this works out. I think at the very least this will be a weird and wacky experiment. Alright, let's go. Okay, so here I'm introing the video. I'm saying some stuff in French probably. Here I'm talking about these stained glass windows that I could see from outside the Airbnb and how it looked really weird that they were just leaning up there against this fence. And I said it kind of looks like the church didn't render properly, like it's like a video game glitch, and you can see the wrong layer of the textures. I'm quite amused by that. This is also outside the Airbnb. I also referred to this as looking like a video game glitch, that the fire escape doors were so far up off the platforms, it looks like they're just like out of sync. This one even has a ladder, and I don't know. I speculate on why that actually is the case. Here's some shots of the Airbnb. I talk about how strange it is to be in just somebody else's house. That I had stayed at Airbnbs before, but they were very clearly just set up for the intent of renting them out as Airbnbs. And whereas this one is very, very clearly lived in through most of the year, that the guy who lives here goes to Mexico every winter and rents it out on Airbnb. So all of his stuff is still here, all of this sentimental stuff, personal memorabilia and decorations, and that's just strange. And here I talk about how these things kind of spook me out, and I'm glad that I wear a sleep mask when I'm sleeping so I don't catch a glimpse of them half asleep and get scared. Then I talk about walking to the grocery store, that the night before I had gone to get some groceries. I passed this Velo Atelier. There I'm probably talking about how beautiful that sounds to me and how this natural music in the language makes things seem more enchanting. But then, of course, if you grew up speaking the language, it's probably doesn't sound strange at all. And then, just as we had in the other video, talking about the lovely contrast of these stores and the buildings around them, just aesthetically and in color and in light and stuff. It just looks very magical. Here I'm talking about a park I passed on the way to the grocery store and how they had these big, what I think are flagpoles, but there was no flags on any of them, which seemed cool, a little anarchistic. Then I'm talking about how after I got groceries, I was too lazy to go out and get dinner, and I didn't feel like cooking any of this stuff I bought, so I just ordered a poke bowl for delivery, and it was pretty good. I didn't really have much to say about it, but I'm still talking. I don't know what I'm talking about. Here, this was the next morning. This is the morning of the video. I noticed this like fractal, self-similar kind of pattern emerging on the ice on the window, which I thought was cool. This is also from the window of the Airbnb. Just this spiral staircase fire escape is cool. Then I talk about taking the subway, that I was going to go to Canada Computers to get some quality of life stuff for my computer setup. And the goal is that the Airbnb guy, there's several monitors here, but there's no cables for them. So I wanted to get the cables so that I could plug a monitor into my laptop, and then I could have 2 screens. And hopefully this will stop me from ever making errors with recording videos, because then I can have OBS open and I can see what's going on. So I wanted to go to Canada Computers to get this stuff, and there's a Canada Computers that I could take the subway to in this kind of like big box store plaza. Anyways, I talk about the subway. I talk about these big open stations, which are cool. And I talk about how the schema where the tracks are in the middle is more dangerous than the ones where the tracks are on each side. And we'll get into that more later. This is getting off the subway. There was like a bus that could take me right to the shopping plaza, but instead I decided to walk because I wanted to kind of see this area. This is a long tangent. So I saw this graffiti, and I thought it meant bear, and clearly here it does not mean bear. And then I thought, this is probably some sort of animal because that radical is usually in characters for animal. And then I choose the wrong radical and I get confused and I can't see it. But you can see it. Viewers at home, maybe you can notice the correct radical that I was supposed to choose. But here I am, I'm getting more confused. I'm trying to find, and then it occurs to me that probably I don't have the right radical. So I know that this radical is in the word cat, and then I try to find on Jisho where you can get the radicals for a kanji you look up, but that doesn't seem to be a feature. I'm getting more confused, and then I find the correct radical. Now I'm looking for the right kanji, and there it is. We did it. And it turns out not to be the name of an animal after all. Here I briefly misread this as anarchism, and I got very confused. But yes, it turns out to be cruel or severe, and that's nowhere near as cute and fun. This was a building I saw that I thought looked interesting, and we spent a little bit of time speculating on what this building would look like from the interior. I put a little tri-panorama perspective shot of it. Here we talk about some paintings that are on the pillars of the overpass, speculating on which ones, if any, were commissioned by the city and like official, and which ones are just graffiti. But they're all very pretty, and I talk about how it's kind of like, nature is kind of reclaiming that this is like a new version of like trees in a forest. And here we look at this graffiti that says Monet, and I talk about how at first I was really excited because I thought it was like the artist Monet, but it could just be someone's name, Monet. And here we talk about how big this store is and what could possibly be in there if it's just a store for lashes. Here's some graffiti that says 2020 vraiment, 2020 really, that I liked. Here's just a long shot of the street I was walking down. Here's a spruce tree that I thought looked pretty cool, that we talk about how I thought it had probably been trimmed quite a bit, and now it looks like it's exploding kind of. This was a big defunct clothing store that looked interesting. This Here I talked for a while about how funny the word Jari is to me. This neighborhood is called Jari, and a lot of stuff is named Jari whatever, and how it just makes me think of that Seinfeld account that talks about Jerry by iPad and stuff, that's the Twitter account. Here I noticed a man just walking down the middle of a street, and then I go on a long tangent about really crazy things I've seen pedestrians doing in the city, that pedestrians do not seem to care at all about the rules of the road, and will just kind of wander across the street whenever they feel like it, as if the cars don't exist. And how this gives me mixed feelings, that partially I'm kind of like, yeah, we need to kind of like reclaim the car dominant space of the urban environment, but how terrible it must be to drive here, and how everybody just seems to be engaged in this game of chicken. I'm very passionate about such things. I'm talking about how I felt like I was outing myself as a tourist because I was obeying the rules of the road and that I wouldn't just cross the street willy-nilly. But that I would rather do that than get hit by a car. This was like a mural I saw that I said I think must be symbolic in some way, and then I noticed in the picture that it said something and I didn't know what it meant. This, I'd speculate whether or not this is Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I don't think it is, but it must be someone, and it seems to just be about the textile industry in the area, and there's a lot of textile stuff, like the large Canada Goose building. I talk about how Canada Goose is a pretty controversial company, and how when I was walking past it, I was caught up with the idea that there's probably a whole department in there that's just set up. Their full-time jobs are to deal with negative criticism, negative comments on Twitter and stuff, and strategize about it. Here we look at some little pop-up tent garages that a lot of people have, and I speculate on how it's very helpful until it isn't, that if you ever get so much snow that it collapses, suddenly it would be a lot worse than if it wasn't there. Here's a store that has the picture of Betty Boop, which I thought was strange. Here's a little mosaic mural thing on the wall. Here, I first apologize for sort of bullying and doing something I don't generally approve of, which is like a candid photo. But look, here's a perfect example. This guy is just crossing the street for no reason. Nothing indicates that he's allowed to cross the street, and he's wearing Yeezys. And I was like, bro, your Yeezys do not allow you. So we talked about that for a while. Here, I talk about this place called Dormez-vous, which I'm pretty sure just means do you sleep? And I thought that was a very strange name for a store. So this is the big box area that I was going to that had the Canada Computers. This is in like the overlap zone where people will take the subway out to these stores, but then people will also drive into the city to these stores. Here we are in Canada Computers. This was a very big Canada Computers, and I'd never been in one so big that they had like appliances. There's a bunch of toasters. I was very confused. And then we talked for a long time about, okay, so if you watch the Emily in Paris video, I'm pretty down about marketing. I don't really like marketing. It kind of creeps me out. It's difficult for me to reconcile the fact that I work in marketing. But sometimes there's just this really beautiful, innocent quality to marketing, like this saying, enjoy tasty toast, that is so endearing to me. That's so pastoral and kind and just speaks to this innocent world where you really are excited. I think this is literally what I'm saying right now. I felt very passionate about this, so this segment went on for a while, and I don't really remember everything I said, but I was really just trying to explain why the toaster saying "enjoy tasty toast" really resonated with me as I saw it in the Canada Computers, or Ordinateurs Canadiens, as it's called here. Yeah, I really talked about the toaster for a while. Then we went to McDonald's. I was going to go to a Costco that was there and get a Costco hot dog, because you can get the hot dog without a membership. But there was a huge, huge lineup. So I was like, all right, whatever. There was also a McDonald's. I was getting pretty hungry, so I just popped in for a couple little burgers and a smoothie. And the smoothie had a paper straw, which was cool. I have never seen a paper straw at McDonald's. Then there was some screen caps. Oh, I talked about how I screen capped the weather because I was talking to a coworker who lives in Texas about the weather, and she said it was 36 degrees Fahrenheit, and I had to admit, that seems pretty cold for Texas, but I had to flex on her. Also, this McDonald's had a thing up that said, keep an eye on your wallet. And here I talk about how I've been to McDonald's literally around the world, that I've been to McDonald's in many, many countries, and I have never once seen something that says, please keep an eye on your wallet, and you might get mugged at this McDonald's. Here we talked for a little while about this mural. Just some of the artistic techniques in it are interesting to me. The way it seems like the graffiti is like integrated into it. The way this guy seems to be kind of, I don't know, both within and without the mural. So then it's much later. I've gone home, I've dropped off some stuff, and then I head out again. I'm going to go to the Eaton Center and try to buy some boots. I don't know what tense I'm using here. I don't know why I'm using like the future tense to describe what I did in the past. Anyways, I ended up missing my subway stop and then ending up in this building that I didn't really understand. That I was in like the basement of it, and there was all these like gallery stores, and I'm pretty sure there were stores, but I couldn't really tell, and they were closed. They had some stuff to indicate that they were selling things, but I didn't really know. There's no prices on anything, but maybe it's one of those if you have to ask. Anyways, I talk about how much I like this painting and how unfortunate it was that I had this angle where the cat gets cut in half. This is more of these gallery stores that were all down in this basement, the various things they had. Huge variety. They had all this like glassware. Here I remark that the sign says go over here for information, but it was closed. I talk about how much I like this painting. I don't remember what I liked about it, or that I said I know what I like about it now. I don't know what I said that I liked about it then. I like this one a lot too. This one reminds me of Group of Seven, sort of. Group of Seven via Cubism in terms of the color scheme, but then also these kind of impossible angles and stuff. This was a sculpture that was in this area. I still don't really understand what this area was. It was just this building. But eventually I emerged from there and started heading to the actual Eaton Center. There was a Google building, another big building, statue park. This was kind of like a scary looking statue. The lights in the middle were like shooting up. This was like a big Olympics building. I think it's some sort of provincial government building. But it was all lit up to celebrate the Olympics, and there was an Olympic rings sculpture there. Here's the scaffolded church that we saw before from a different angle. Here's a big the bay that was closed, but I talk about it for a while. I don't know what I'm saying about it, even though it's closed. I looked concerned there. Something concerning. This was like a video I took. There's sound for the video, that's nice. I just liked how the snow was only really visible in the light. It just had a kind of a cool effect. And here I pan over to the scaffolded church again. Here were some Invisa Uggs, the Uggs with the plastic casing. I didn't end up buying these, but I was kind of tempted. They're just funny. I think if it didn't say Ugg, I would buy it. The Ugg branding is a little too obnoxious. I went to the bathroom in the center, and I saw this graffiti, and another graffiti that I'll show you. So we're off to a great start for Montreal public toilets. I went to the Warhammer store. They had this really impressive diorama. I took the picture of it. And then they had these guys that are called Plague Marines. A friend of mine plays this army, so I took a picture to send to him. And then he sent me a good 20 messages about Warhammer back, which it sounds like I'm making fun of him, but it's actually really interesting to read that stuff. But yes, I opened the gate on that. Here I saw Pokemon Labyrinth, which was a game I really liked as a kid, and I didn't know they made like a Pokemon edition of it. I briefly explained the rules of Labyrinth. I don't really want to bother explaining the rules of Labyrinth again. You can look it up. And I talk about what this Pokemon variant probably does. It's probably just a very simple image swap, but whatever. It's a cool game, and I love Pokemon, and I love Labyrinth, and at some point I just start pleading the hypothetical viewer to buy me this as a gift of some sort. And then I speculate on Junior Labyrinth. Here's a cake vending machine. These are also in the Toronto Eaton Center, but I took a picture of it here because I was here. They look pretty tasty, but they're 10 bucks a slice. And then I highlight myself in the reflection. This was in Uniqlo. I thought it was very funny that they had the Canadian tuxedo, the jeans plus jean jacket, and how I thought this was a very transparent attempt to Canadianize Uniqlo. Then I talked about this cafeteria thing that was in the upstairs of the Eaton Center called the Time Out Cafe, that just had like a lot of different cuisines represented, and they were all kind of under the same ownership, so there was kind of this consistency and high quality standard. There was like a little arcade part. It was very like hip. The lighting was very low. It was much darker than these pictures indicate, and that it just kind of seemed like a I don't know. I don't know what I said that I thought of it back then, but looking back at it now, it was pretty cool. I would go eat there again maybe. They had a lot of variety, a lot of places to try. I don't know what I'm saying here. I'm really ruminating on this place. I used some sort of hand gesture. This was a smoothie I got at a smoothie bar there, and they filled it up so high, and then the person filling it went, whew, because it just barely fit. You can see the meniscus is over top of the side of the glass, and only surface tension is keeping it together. But it was a pretty tasty smoothie. I talk about how they shaved chocolate on top of it, like a dark chocolate, which had a nice kind of refreshing contrast. But yeah, pretty good. And then I got these tacos. I love these tacos. I probably talked about these tacos for like 5 minutes. So here we'll talk about them for 2.5 minutes. They had, I wasn't sure what was in them because I went and I tried to get another taco that had fried oysters in it. And the guy was like, no, we're out of fried oysters. But he said, oh, you should try this one. And I was like, all right, sure. But I wasn't really sure what was in it. I also got guacamole and chips. But yeah, it was really good. Really fresh, zesty flavor, lots of vegetables. Oh, here I talk about how the guacamole was in this giant transparent jug, and how that was a little off-putting because it reminded me of like industrial-sized containers of mayonnaise. But it looked like that it was handmade because I could see people mashing into the big jug. But it was just shocking to see so much of it at once. Here's I talk about like the edible flowers and stuff. Here is my journey home. I got off on the wrong stop again. I keep missing my stop. I think it's just so much faster than I anticipate, and I'm used to as soon as you get on public transit, you just kind of do nothing for like 15 minutes at least. So I kept getting surprised by how frequent the stops were. Here's a video of the train leaving. It's really fast. It's not usually that fast. This is a thing I wanted to see, so I took a picture of the poster. Yeah, I guess it's, I'm pretty sure it's like the golden record that they put on Voyager, plus the photos from Voyager. So maybe I'll go see that. That sounds cool. It's at the planetarium. And I look at the poster. This was another subway station. This was also the incorrect subway station. Somehow I accidentally, here I'm describing it, I wanted to walk around and take the subway in the other direction, but I somehow walked around and then arrived at the same direction and just took the subway further in the wrong direction. But I wasn't feeling too bad about it because I liked seeing all the subway stops, and this is an anti-homeless bench. And I talk about how I really wanted to, there was these monitors, and sometimes they would show video game trivia, and they were very kind of strange, obscure video game trivia. One was about how the e-reader worked, the Game Boy Advance accessory, and one was about how you could get a Linux disk for the PlayStation 2 and install Linux on your PlayStation 2 if you had the PlayStation 2 hard drive and like a program on it. So I was like really excited by these, and I wanted to get a picture of them, but the train kept getting in the way, or they would switch over right when I was getting my camera out. So I talk about my quest to see that and how really getting lost in the subway was no big deal at all because I was on this mission. And then I saw this, what looks to be a dating app called Fruits, and I talk a little bit about what this pun could mean. I don't think I translated accurately. And then I discussed how this seems like a really bad name for an app. And then we do a little wrap up. And then we switch back to OBS, and I fail to notice that the microphone had never been recording the entire time. And hopefully, yes, we have been recording now. Excellent. So yeah, future normal episodes will continue maybe tonight. It depends kind of on how much stuff I want to talk about. Bye!